So I'm taking this guy and this guy and making them into this guy. Howdy folks, welcome to Bleeding Tree Gaming. I'm Autumn Witch, and in this video I shall be doing my favourite thing in this hobby, and that is kit bashing. Let's crack on. So I'm doing white scars. The problem is that, especially in the 40k setting, there aren't many kits that hit the same note as the awesome artwork. But anyway, what am I going to need for the job? Stuff. Namely this stuff. Clippers, blade, superglue, Tamiya thin plastic glue, sprue goo. Seriously, I don't know why I slept on this for so long. It's basically bits of sprue fed into Tamiya thin plastic goo. Yep, it's the absolute bollocks. I have a pin vise or hand drill with a 0.8mm bit at one end and a 1.5mm bit pon t'other. I also have some paper clips at 0.8mm thick and a bag of 1.5mm ball bearings. That is no coincidence. Also, I have plenty of green stuff and some silicone sculpting tools because I'm going to have a crack at making some fur pelts to adorn his armour. I also have my extensive bits collection to call upon, and call upon it I shall. Assembly. The cool thing about the Terminator captain from the starter sets is that he is push fit. So you can roughly assemble him and compare any new parts you want to add on the model and judge the fit accordingly in three-dimensional space. I then go about making any changes I need to the base model. The tilt shields mounted onto the pauldrons would be fine for Ultramarines or Black Templars or Dark Angels, basically any chapter with a more knightly look, but White Scars lean heavily on a Mongol Empire sort of Cossack appearance, and so anything too European looking needs to go. I carefully cut them away from the pauldrons, keeping them intact so they go into my bits box for later projects. I do the same with most of the purity seals. I will reattach them later, but in different places depending on the composition I end up with. Then I shave off the Aquila on his chest and all the other Imperial symbols, save for that Crux Terminatus on his left shoulder. I want to make heavy use of bonding studs to make the armour look like it has taken a beating and been patched up multiple times. I decide on patterns for the shins and chest, and then I go in with my 0.8mm drill bit to make pilot holes, and then widen them with my 1.5mm bit, which creates a snug fit for the 1.5mm ball bearings, which I fix in place with a little superglue. I dab sprue goo over them, not just to fill in any exposed recess, but also to create a thin layer of plastic over the ball bearings to help the primer and later painting adhere better. Now the main donor kit is the Praetor with Power Axe model for the Horus Heresy. I got my first one in the Age of Darkness set, and he made for a pretty decent White Scar Praetor. What with the top knot and trophy rack, badass axe, and medallion style filigree. From this kit I shall be taking the head, the trophy rack from the backpack, the axe, the vambraces from his forearms, the side armour from his waist, I believe the technical term is side flappy things, and also the rounded medallions for where the tilt shields used to be. I know it can seem a bit wasteful to buy an entire kit just for donor parts, but there's enough of the Praetor kit intact to do an entire other conversion purely with spares that I already own. If you want to see that video, let me know in the comments below, and what chapter should I make him. I clipped away the side armour from the Terminator and then replaced it with the side flaps from the Praetor. It required some trimming and filing on both components, but they soon fit together rather snugly. I took the iron halo off the Terminator and the trophy rack from the Praetor's back and pinned it to the mount on the Terminator armour using my 0.8mm drill bit and a piece of standard paper clip. Pinning is so useful. Along with sprue goo, it's something I slept on for a long time before just adopting it, and now it makes things so much easier. I glued the medallions to where the tilt shields had been, and then glued the body together. However, with the arms being push fit, I didn't glue them on, just left them on their pegs so that I could have better access to the model when it comes to painting. Lastly, I trimmed the neck on the head to fit the socket and decided on a position I liked before gluing it in place and using a little sprue goo to once more fill any gap. Now weapons. First I cut the head of the axe from its haft and also removed the handle from the middle of the axe head as they both had the original hands attached. I then took the Terminator's sword arm and cut the blade off between the top of his hand and the bottom of the hilt, followed by the lower part of the handle that's not in his grip. I then drilled right through the remnants of the handle in his hand and pinned it right through with a piece of paperclip to ensure the reconstructed axe would be properly aligned when finished. I pinned the blade to the top part. Then I grabbed a Grey Knight's halberd from my bits box and trimmed up a length of its shaft and pinned that to the underside of the hand. To finish the axe, I cut the pommel from the axe's original haft and pinned it to the bottom of the new haft. Then with the remainder of the original haft, I cut a new handle for the section halfway along the blade. Incidentally, I think that is the most times I have ever said the word haft in the space of a minute. Haft. Incidentally, that pinkish staining on the haft is my own blood from repeatedly stabbing myself with the drill. That's the 0.8mm one, not the 1.5. The gun was a lot less faff. I carefully trimmed the Stormbolter away from his left hand, preserving as much of the handle and trigger mechanism in the hand as possible, and then I grabbed a combi melter from the much missed discontinued Sternguard kit, and that fitted nicely, making ample room on the other van brace to fit on the forearm. In this edition, Terminator captains have really had their loadout options cut. Now you can take either a Stormbolter or combi weapon in one hand, or a power weapon or power fist in the other. Seriously, G-dubs, can we at least have lightning claws or storm shields back as legends options? Green stuff. And so I come to the part I dreaded, actually sculpting stuff. I grabbed some silicone sculpting tools especially for this. They were about a $5 on Jeff Bezos's forest-based delivery company. I spread out some baking parchment on my desk and mixed up some green stuff. I tried doing it with latex gloves to avoid getting fingerprints on it, but they were as much use as boobs on fish. I rolled it out thin and cut out a shape to use as fur trim for the back of the cloak. The silicone tools were great for smoothing out any fingerprints, and I used them and the blunt side of my hobby knife to work it into a fur texture. I then did the same to cover the long parchment hangings from his belt buckle. White Scars are hunters, yet there are very few products in the basic Space Marine range that echo this element of them as a chapter, so you have to do it yourself. You can see that I have taken him off the original scenic base he comes with, clipped away the pegs on his feet, and added the tactical rock from the Praetor kit under his right foot to even his stance. I built up some cork tile on his 50mm base, and then laid the rest of the green stuff on top rolled flat. Then I grabbed one of my texture rollers. This is the Roman texture from Green Stuff World. I wet it to avoid sticking and then rolled it over the green stuff with moderate pressure to make the ruined floor of an old building for him to stand on. I then press him lightly into the base so I can leave a mark where he is positioned should I need to take him off for any reason and put him back exactly as he was. Whilst I waited for it to cure, I added some more bonding studs, this time to the shoulder pauldrons. I grabbed some skulls from the Citadel Skulls kit and some chains from the old Empire Flagellants kit, which is a great kit for conversions and kitbashes. I don't know how long the kit is still going to be around for, or if it's going to be repackaged for Old World, but if you want a reasonable costed kit for zealots or cultists or chapter serfs or servitors, etc., it's well worth a grab. I drilled into the skulls and pushed the ends of the plastic chains inside the holes before filling them with sprue goo. This set a far stronger bond than if I had just glued them on. I then glued them onto the models, 2 behind the overhanging medallions, and later 2 more from beneath the cloak. This was easy to do, having not glued the arms onto their pegs so I could remove them and get access to under the cloak. I also added some more skulls from the skull kit to the base, because it's 40k. The rules of 40k supposedly are feet on rocks, skulls on bases, and PPs on space marines. I wanted him to have banners, but something more in keeping with the East Asian vibe that the white scars lean into. Now, the old Marine biker kits came with a banner pole that nobody ever seemed to use after 2nd edition, and I have a fair few of them. I drilled out the back of the skulls on 2 of them and fitted a length of paperclip into each to make an armature. I then drilled 2 holes in the top plate of the armour and opposite points, trimmed the bases off the bottom of the poles and fixed them into the armour with sprue goo. Yes, I am getting a lot of mileage from the sprue goo. With the green stuff cured, I set about adding some texture to the base with Geek Gaming Basing Glue and Geek Gaming Grimdark City Rubble. I then sealed all the rubble down with super glue. Lastly, I made some flat green stuff sheets for the banners. I had been tempted to make some paper ones in the free application Inkscape and print them onto sticky paper, but instead I went down this road. When cured, I then took a needle and thread and stitched them onto the banner frame. It's not neat, but I think it suits the battered armour and battlefield repair vibe that I wanted this guy to have from the off. As I completed each section, I saturated the thread with superglue, giving it a strong bond between banner and frame. Then all there was to do was give the whole thing a white prime. Now this video has gone on for a while, so I'll save painting it for my next one. If you want to see that, subscribe and hit the bell icon to be notified when it comes out. If you could also give the video a like and maybe share or even leave a comment, that would be lovely. Thanks for watching. I'm Autumn Witch, and I'll catch you next time on Bleeding Tree Gaming.